Let's talk about the Janome Sewist 625E. First of all, my name is Tobias from Downtown Sewing. We are an authorized Janome dealership in Toronto, Canada. We're going to go through 4 topics to cover everything you should know about this machine. First, who this machine is best suited for. Second, the build quality. Third, the features. And 4, everything that it comes with. So who is this machine for? If you've got a little bit of sewing under your belt and you've been working off of a cheap big box store Amazon machine, or you've had a hand-me-down machine and you're looking for something that's just a step or 2 above, this is a perfect machine for you. If you're a beginner and you're brand new to sewing and you have a little bit more room in your budget, this will be a great option because it's very easy to use and it will be with you for a long time. In terms of the type of sewing it's best suited for, garment sewing, utility sewing, alterations, things like that. You can quilt with it. You would have to get a walking foot attachment and a 1/4 inch attachment to make it a sort of quilting machine, but it's best suited for garment sewing and general purpose alterations. So let's talk about the build quality. This video is being filmed in 2025, and as of now, this machine has been around for at least 15 years, if not longer. I've known people who've had it for that amount of time, still going strong, they love it. I'm going to post a picture in front of the machine here, which is what it looks like with all the covers taken off. As you can see, it's got a really sturdy, solid metal frame underneath these plastic covers. No worries about the build quality. It's got a nice weight to it, meaning that it's not going to jump around on the table when you're sewing at those high speeds. Now, upon first glance of this machine, it looks like a regular mechanical machine, but it's actually a bit of a hybrid. So you've got a mechanical stitch selector, mechanical stitch length, reverse, stitch width. That's all as it would be on a mechanical machine, but it's got the motor of a computerized machine, which allows it to have a couple of really nice features: speed control and needle up and down. Now, in terms of the actual build quality, the computerized motor is really essential because it gives you the full piercing power of the motor, even at the slowest speeds. This motor is a direct current motor, meaning no matter what speed you're going, the motor is being given the full amount of power. Whereas with a mechanical machine that uses an alternating current motor, the more you press down on the pedal, the more power gets fed to the motor. So the machine is kind of relying on momentum for piercing power, more so than this machine. Otherwise, we've got a full metal hook system, metal needle plate. This machine is made in Taiwan at the Janome factory. One thing I love about Janome is that every machine that is called Janome is made completely in-house by Janome. There's no outsourcing or private labeling through other manufacturers. Everything is built under the same roof, and I find that the consistency in the production is amazing. As a retailer, I only sell machines that I know my customers are going to be happy with, that it's not going to be defective out of the box, and Janome has far less than 1% of return and defect rate. One more advantage of the DC computerized motor: it's very smooth and quiet. It's a luxurious sewing experience, and it's the first model in the Janome lineup that gives you that really nice feeling. Those gray heavy-duty machines do not compare. People who go from that to one of these machines, they are so pleased at how nice and quiet they are. All right, now let's talk about the features of this machine. First, just some of the features built into the machine. So first of all, the thread stand is horizontal. I much prefer this, especially if you're using these larger 1,000 meter spools. It allows the thread to pull off the spool weightlessly, whereas when you have a vertical spool stand, the entire weight of the spool is being pulled by the machine, and when you get to these bigger spools, it doesn't work nearly as well. So this is a much better thread delivery system. Second of all, you've got your top loading bobbin. Of course, this is much easier to load, much faster, and best of all, you can see how much thread is left in your bobbin. Now I'm going to talk about the 3 standout sewing features of this machine. First is the speed control slider. This is really incredible. This slider sets the maximum speed of the machine, meaning if I set it all the way down, I can floor down on that pedal and it's still just going to go stitch by stitch very slowly. This can be really useful for a couple of reasons. If you're teaching children and you don't want them to sew too far or go too quickly, you can set it to the lowest speed, go really nice and slow, get them comfortable with the machine. For regular sewing purposes, let's say you're top stitching and you're top stitching to a corner, and it's very easy to accidentally go a stitch too far, and then you've got a whole bunch of problems on your hands. Going slow makes it really easy to not go too far. The next standout feature is the needle up down button. So this machine, because it has that computerized motor, whenever we end our stitch, it's going to end with the needle up. Now, if I click this button, now it's always going to stop with the needle down. This is super useful because if you're sewing a bunch of straight lines, let's say you're piecing a quilt, the machine is always with the needle up, ready for you to lift up the presser foot and pull your fabric out. It reduces the need for you to go over to the hand wheel and crank it to get it to the needle up position. So it's always ready to go in that way. Or if you're doing a lot of turns, then you can set it to the needle down and it's always ready for you to lift up that presser foot, turn the fabric, and go to your next part. The third standout feature about this machine is the one-step automatic buttonhole. Now, more affordable entry-level machines are going to have a 4-step buttonhole, which means that you manually have to sew each of the 4 sides of the buttonhole, and it takes a lot of practice to get it looking good, and it's a bit of a pain. This machine, you simply load the button into the buttonhole foot, set up the machine to a few settings, pull down the buttonhole lever, and you're ready to go. The machine will sew all 4 sides of the buttonhole for you in one go. The only thing that you have to do is stop it when it gets to the end. And not only does this machine have this capability, it just makes a really nice buttonhole compared to some of the other models on the market. There are other features on this machine, but most of those features are very similar to most other models. These 3 that I mentioned are what make this machine amazing. Now let's talk about a couple of drawbacks or reasons why this machine might not be for you. If you're a quilter, the machine doesn't have the most space between the needle and the arm of the machine. It's pretty standard for a small size machine, but if you're doing big quilts, you might have a bit of trouble there. Second of all, there are no decorative stitches or lettering stitches or quilting type stitches that most people like to use. So you are going to be a little bit limited if you want to use, say, a serpentine stitch or something like that, or some sort of decorative stitch along the edge. This machine does have a few satin stitches, but nothing so decorative and sort of fun. It's more utility based. It gives you exactly what you need if you're a garment sewer, but if you're a quilter, you might be missing a couple of stitches there. The third drawback, if you are a quilter, as I mentioned before, this machine doesn't come with the essential quilting attachments like the 1/4-inch seam foot or the walking foot. Of course, you can get them and they're not that expensive, but it's nice when a machine comes with that. All right, now let's talk about the accessories that the machine does come with. We've got a convenient accessory tray. Okay, this is everything that the machine comes with. Now, this is the automatic buttonhole foot that we mentioned before. You simply open it up, put your button in there, the machine knows how big to make the buttonhole. Here is your zipper foot, very standard, comes with a lot of machines. Here is your satin stitch foot, which is for some of those decorative satin stitches that we were talking about earlier. Now this is an edge guide foot, and a lot of people don't understand how amazing this attachment is. A lot of people don't use it. This has an adjustable guide, and you line this up either in the middle of the seam that you're top stitching next to or right on the edge of a fabric, and it just allows you to get a really nice clean top stitch. Very, very nice, very underutilized. The last foot that comes with it is the over edge foot. These are for some of your faux serger stitches, and it just makes it lay really flat and it gives you better results than your regular zigzag foot. This is a little spool felt, which if you're using the optional vertical spool pin, I always recommend putting this on. When the spool is on here, it just helps it turn more evenly. with this felt guiding it, whereas sometimes the spool can get turned and it'll spin too much and cause a jam. So always put that there. The machine comes with a total of 5 bobbins. 1 is in the machine right now. This is a quilting guide bar. You load this in to the side of your foot shank and it allows you to guide on your previously sewn quilting lines so that you can make perfectly parallel stitching lines. This is a cleaning brush for cleaning your machine. This is a seam ripper. Most machines come with a seam ripper just like this. To be honest, the quality is not the best. I would recommend buying another seam ripper, but for some reason, no matter how expensive the machine, they all come with this little seam ripper. Here are your 2 spool caps, which lets you secure the spool onto the spool pin so that it doesn't fall off. I personally prefer using the smaller one for just about anything. The larger one just seems to be a little overkill, and the thread has to do just a bit too much of a big circle to get around it. Here we have an assorted pack of needles, and now they're not labeled very well, so I'm going to tell you what they are. The 2 on the left here are size 11 universal tip. The one in the middle is a size 11 blue tip needle, which is a ballpoint needle, so it's good for knits. And the 2 on the right are size 14 universal. That's kind of your medium all-purpose needle. And last but not least, we have the Janome wingtip screwdriver. These are really nice, very easy to take off your needle plate for cleaning. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, in the box it comes with a nice hard carrying cover. All in all, this is one of my favorite models in the price point that it is. In Canada currently, if you look it up online, it goes for $688 plus tax. Now for the features that it comes with, it might not seem like a lot. What you're paying for is a long-lasting workhorse of a machine that is quiet, reliable, easy to use. Now, a lot of other manufacturers will have a inexpensive machine, let's say $300, and it'll be loaded up with tons of accessories and features, so it makes you want to buy it, and you do. But the problem is the build quality is sacrificed. It's not going to be a pleasure to sew on, and it won't last as long. If you can, invest a little bit more in a high quality machine like this, and you will be happy for years to come. As a retailer, I only carry models that I know my customers will like. The big box stores, they don't care if they sell you a bad machine. You can just return it, or if it's beyond the return date, then you're out of luck. We, the retailers, we are very discerning, and I would definitely recommend this machine if you are a beginner with some room in your budget, or if you're looking to upgrade from your first machine to a nice, simple machine that will keep you happy for a long time.